Hello, everybody. Welcome to our weekly AMA. We've got some interesting things to discuss. A lot of new things are in the pipeline and ready to be unveiled to you, the community, which we're quite proud of. As you guys know, there's a big update to our roadmap coming, which I'll let Herman speak about more in a moment. And then there are other things going on in terms of business, marketing, community, and with our various ecosystem projects that we'll discuss over the next 30 minutes or so. And at the end, there will, of course, be the quiz, the weekly quiz. So best of luck with that for anyone who joins in. Herman's here at the moment, so I'm going to hand you over to him, and he'll be able to give us the strategic update to what's going on with the Cherry project.
Hello, everybody. What to say? Pretty eventful past week. I'll try not to comment as much on events that don't really matter. Cherry. We did release an announcement detailing our exposure to Circle, SVB, and so forth. It's been limited, and to the extent there was one, and now that Circle does seem solvent, does seem liquid, and does seem once again sound in its securing of USCC, its stablecoin. I think cautiously, of course, that we are somewhat out of the woods. It was, of course, proper for us to expect the worst. We prepared for the worst. Took on a slight loss in our prompt reaction and consequent adjustments of our treasury distribution, but I think it was warranted, as it was the lesser evil compared to, if things didn't go as well. If you have any questions about that, about the processes and the actions we took, I'll be happy to answer them. However, I do believe they're a bit out of scope, especially given that the issues that appeared to exist just a few days ago don't seem to now. So in better and more relevant news, as announced last week, our EVM testnet deployment is pretty much ready. Today, we completed the testnet upgrade. We advanced 2 versions. We're now compatible to the second to last version of Polkadot. That doesn't really mean much, but for a RPC issue that I think affected some people, I do believe that was the problem with trade up place as our blockchain interface. Hopefully that was resolved by the various actions we took, but if that didn't solve it completely, this advancement to latest -1 should also do the trick. So we did that for testnets. We're going to do that for mainnet soon too. But this means that testnet is pretty much ready for our parachain, for EVM parachain deployment. Now, the exact deployment, I think, is not that important. We don't really care about dates. I don't think it's even useful to focus about dates. There's nothing that will be required of people. You don't need to upgrade anything. Nothing's going to happen to your tokens. This, again, is a testnet upgrade. So while it's useful to have, we will take some time, or it's useful to have sooner rather than later. We will take some time to allow a pretty thorough and complete exploration of this code. And whereas In the past, it had been weeks or months. Last week, we announced that the order nowadays, I can now safely assume that given this last bit of work, the scale is now ours. Tentatively, we'll try to release our parachain upgrade around afternoon UTC tomorrow. Of course, all these deadlines are loose, and as I described earlier, not essential, as in them being anticipated or delayed doesn't really affect anything. We'd rather a more stable, secure, tested product over one that was simply rushed. So with that, I don't think there's anything to add. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them. Otherwise, I'll just listen in and see what the other guys have to say.
Thanks very much, Herman. Very encouraging. We had an interesting question earlier today. Someone asked, and I've heard this question from a couple of people over the past few weeks, is for people that are maybe not professional blockchain developers but want to play around with cherry functionality and things like that, at what point, whether on testnet or on mainnet, would working with cherry functionality be a possibility for the more hobbyist or less professional or less blockchain focused people out there who are nevertheless interested in seeing what cherry can do and things like that?
So I saw a pretty interesting conversation about this on Telegram between Boer, my co-founder, and a few users. He details, Boer does, the overall approach we take to executing our strategy, which once again is building a distributed storage system that is trustless, that has the various features that we drone on and discuss pretty often in these AMAs. But the secondary strategy that he details, which is sort of nested into delivering this product, is of course making it tangible and usable, both to technical users and non-technical users. Now, we are a small team. We have a lot of talent, and given our resources are limited and our objectives are quite wide and complex, especially compared to others that we're often compared with, like meme coins and competitors that are mostly driven by hype and promises over real tangible products. We need to be very deliberate in our expense of time, resources, and what to prioritize at often the expense of others. So far, it's been we've had this deep priority to compatibility, preparing our system, preparing our network, preparing our protocol to be used easily across the main general purpose systems, namely the Ethereum-based strand, such as Ethereum, Polygon, BNB chain, Phantom, Avalanche C chain, etc., and Polkadot, with its many and varied parachains and side chains, etc. Of course, we try and prioritize the things that benefit most and in the widest sense before building more specific products, such as, let's say, an interface that easily allows the interaction between general users and the storage system, or the payments from general users to the storage providers. Those are, of course, essential in the long run for general usage, though they're a bit smaller in scope and perhaps secondary to other goals that we could aim to achieve instead. And so that's how we reason about these things. Now, when we say that the core product is the storage system, that means that I would say a significant amount of time goes to developing that. But as you've all seen, and that as I've announced earlier, we don't really care about building a product that can't be used, and therefore, we try and capture these lowest hanging fruit, such as compatibility, such as being able to interact with our system from other blockchains. So not pure compatibility, but let's say interoperability with more select and more purpose-driven features rather than the entire system. And we'll continue to pursue these ancillary goals, perhaps more strongly than we've certainly been advised to do that less. But that's at least our thinking. Now, if you want a timeline, it's difficult to exactly specify what features are prioritized against what else. If you think of it as well, the answer specifically, so the question specifically asked for a non-technical answer. So it's a bit difficult to assume that everybody may understand the technical implications, technical difficulties faced in building, a storage system and then getting it to people. But if you can stretch your imagination, our way of thinking is purely educated by developing that system and then making it as accessible to as many people as possible, starting from the easiest thing for us to do with the greatest benefit, and then down. It's a very good question. I don't have a more specific answer. That wouldn't take a very long time and abuse of technical terms that I don't think is proper for an AMA. But we'll try to have an answer to that in written form at some point. That's it.
Thanks, Armin. Yeah, I think that's pretty useful for people that are wondering about all the different moving pieces that are at play in terms of where we place, or where the developers more specifically place, their energies and attentions, because we do need to balance what we do want to balance, or have enough tooling and presentation of the technology to the community. It's also important to focus on the most strategic business targets vis-a-vis what we are trying to build. So yeah, I hope pretty soon we'll have more to share with you in that regard, because I know that we have a lot of very innovative and interesting community members who have some innovative and interesting solutions and projects and initiatives that they want to undertake, and they want them to be done and executed by leveraging the things that Cherry can do. So that'll be quite exciting in the near future, I'm sure. I think that's. I'm just going to double check very quickly if there have been any more salient questions. Any other salient questions? I don't think so. So I'm going to proceed to just give you guys an update on things on the business side. First and foremost, without going into too much into the weeds on this too much, it's been a turbulent past week on the financial side for the tech industry in general. To a certain extent, the broader financial markets and specifically crypto. We have, aside from the internal measures that we took that Herman described, we've also been touching base with our partners and just making sure that, getting a pulse check from them to make sure that to ensure that our business development efforts with them can proceed as they were originally planned. I can happily report that in the short term and by now there hasn't been any major damaging fallout within our business ecosystem, so that's good to see. And as Herman described, things look like we might be heading towards a situation where we will be or are out of the woods, so to speak, soon, hopefully. I don't think, as Herman said, I don't think there's much reason to go into the details too much on that stuff. But if there's any questions that people have, then pop them in the chat, and we'll try and take a look at them later. As Herman said, of course, the main and more positive news is regarding EVM. We're looking at how to get this information promoted and disseminated, the information regarding our testnet launch of EVM compatibility as soon as possible. And we'll keep you guys updated about that. I mentioned last week that we're looking at things in the more medium term, such as hackathons, etc. So that should be quite fun because, like most projects, crypto projects anyway, there is a period of slight, anticipation between when a project launches in business terms while the development is ongoing, and then actually reaches a stage of technical maturity that anybody can get their hands on it and use it and interact with it. And as Herman said, we've kind of converged on that point now, which is good. So now that this lovely set of tools and capabilities has been very expertly developed by our technical team, it will be fun in the coming days and weeks to kind of, actually start to use it, to see other people using it, to motivate other people to use it, etc. So that's kind of something that we're looking at the moment. And of course, not just from a individual developer, dApp developer perspective, but also in terms of how we can present this as a solution to many different business issues to other platforms, which we've discussed before at various points in the AMAs. So that's going to proceed. Business development in the past week has been somewhat hampered by the news in the States of what went on there, but things are still progressing well. And we're hoping that within the next couple of weeks, we'll be able to show you guys some of the business relationships that we forged with promising or already prestigious chains in the wider Web3 and indeed further beyond in the wider tech space. So that should be quite exciting. Finally, we were a bit delayed with some other things that we were looking at, and there was some kind of technical things that we had to work through. So the merch store, merchandise, the lovely designs that we've shown you before should be ready to roll by the end of this week, certainly by early next week. So that'll be fun as well. I think that's mostly covers everything. All prize winners have been, except for maybe one or two, have been reimbursed or rewarded in previous weeks, except for the Christmas competition. I need one person to get back to me, and then in the next week I can start to talk to people about the prizes that they won for that, whether that's merchandise or the cash prize. So if I've contacted you about that before, then hold tight. and I'll pick that back up in the next few days as well. I think that Diego's here, and I think Diego wants to hop in now and give us his update from the business and seedling side, or the business of seedling side. Are you there, Diego?
Yes. Hello, guys. Thank you, Owen. I'm happy to be here again, another Wednesday. So yeah, guys, let's start with a little note and a comment on the macroeconomic perspective for seedling. We have seen what has happened in the last week with SVB and the situation with Bitcoin actually ramping up. Looks like the interest in the whole space might be slowly coming back. It's always good for seedling, even when negative news like this happens. So the crypto market is more and more seen as a store of value in Bitcoin and also an interesting investment. Seedling actually has been quite static in holding its value, like not many other tokens in the market. There is not too much going on externally, as you might be able to see as a launchpad, but internally we're really working in close contact and negotiation with actually yourself, Owen, Cherry Labs, Cherry Network, regarding loads of BD work. I've been personally with yourself, Owen, and many other people that might not be as public, involved in many deals, and have been working with many different chains. So yeah, seedling actually is being one of these key drivers in the negotiations, bringing value to other ecosystems through the great fundraising functionality and bringing direct value to community guys, as you will gain access to invest in these top chain ecosystems and upcoming chains. And this is obviously a very strong point for launchpads. And obviously, as you join ecosystems, seedling should not only gain access to the actual projects, but also marketing recognition from the chains. So, guys, on another note, also there has been a ramp up of impersonations. I've seen the last couple of weeks with many users reporting accounts of fake myself or even Javin. So, you guys, as you know, or I don't want to say this every week, but should know, under no circumstances we will contact you guys regarding money issues or ask you for funds. I have received 2 or 3 messages from community members asking if I've been writing them from other accounts. And yeah, and the last point I wanted to mention was regarding the recommendations. I can't remember from the top of my head, but 3 community members yesterday came up with a couple of projects to review. We really appreciate this attitude and happy to, well, actually, we're very happy to try and bring you guys the projects that you want to invest in, right? Even if they're in the very early stage, we can already establish this contact, both for the early stage or just establishing contacts and getting to review the projects well and to start the negotiations for later rounds as well. So yeah, guys, that's on a very quick update about this week's AMA and some comments I wanted to have today with you guys. Thank you all, and talk to you next week.
Thanks, Diego. Yep, lots of positive things happening in seedling. And yes, it is always an integral part of the wider business ecosystem and value proposition of the Cherry project. So thank you, Diego. We'll move on to Marvin, and he'll give us an update of what's happening with one of our flagship ecosystem projects, which is Cherish. Are you there, Marvin?
Yes, definitely here. Yeah, good to be here as well. Sunny Belgian Wednesday for me. Hope the weather's nice for you guys too. I'll start off with saying that Cherish update number 109 is underway, which will go into depth a bit about how your data is protected and the ownership of your content on Cherish, and how Cherish really wants to create a space where all digital art, all digital content is owned by the users themselves, and shift the paradigm a bit for the social media space. Then development progress is progressing, with a new version being deployed of the Cherish test website. As some of you might have noted, the current website is still down, but that's actually because we have started integrating some assets and some elements from the new version into the old one. So we're ready for a merge. So with that said, limited creator access testing is on the horizon. So we're going to get a couple of creators from our community of creators that we've created access to the Cherish test website, and they're going to get their hands on first and help us shape the website into the optimal creator network. Then onboarding continues, and we'll have a couple more creator spotlights on the way as well for you guys to have an in-depth look at some of the creators that we've been talking and working with over the last months. I think that's about all for Cherish for now, and I'll leave you back with Owen.
Thanks, Marvin. Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing the feedback that we get from some of those creators. We'll probably expand the set of beta testers, so to speak, as time goes by. So a lot of people in our community and in our business community will be able to give us their insights, so that when Cherish in its next iteration joins the fray, it'll be nice and tested, which is quite important, especially for a user-focused platform such as Cherish. I think that's everything at the moment. As Herman said, we're anticipating the EVM launch on testnet very soon. So we're working away in the background on how to push that out. So you can expect it, as Herman said, in a very, very, very short time frame. And in the meantime, I'm going to leave you with John. He's going to freeze the chat, and he's going to do the weekly quiz. And the winners will be contacted by me within the next day or so. So thank you all for joining. If you have any questions, as always, you can drop them in the chat and someone will always get to you. And between now and next week, we will be chatting to you very soon about the big launch of EVM on testnet very soon. Thanks very much for joining, guys, and I'll talk to you soon.